Welcome to Learnwake. This is Brandon Judd, and today I'm responding to a video analysis request that has been uploaded by Kathy. And Kathy is looking for some help on her heel side and toe side wake jumps, specifically focusing on her toe side wake jump, and not quite sure her body positioning and how to lean and keep it consistent through the wake, so she's not getting hung up at the wake and not casing the wake on the other side. So. That said, I just want to say, Kathy, thank you so much for uploading this video and for submitting this request. We love seeing the progress of our users, and we really like being able to help out where we can, and I think that this video will help you see some of the things that you need to see in order to correct the body position that you're striving for. So also, just wanted to mention, again, we apologize for the delay in responding to this video. You probably noticed we have a new site now, and our video analysis function took a little bit of adjusting to get used to. So now we're ready to roll and everything's good. But again, we apologize for the slight delay in you submitting this video and when you're getting your response. So hopefully this is still relevant to you, as I imagine it will be. So. We're going to dive right into this, and there's two things specifically that I see as an issue with your toe side jump, and the biggest thing is body positioning. Right now you're kind of folded in half here. You're wedging the board between your upper body and the wake, and what happens here when you do this is you'll notice that when you kind of lean forward a little, if you can see how pretty straight up and down your upper body is. Your hips are a little behind you, your shoulders are a little forward. What this does is this flattens the board out a lot, and the nose of the board is not very high and the tail of the board is not very deep. So it kind of kills your pop right here, but it feels awkward to do anything other than kind of square up and stay upright with your upper body. So I want to show you what a correct version looks like at the wake, and then I'll show you how to set up your approach so that we can set you up for success to make it easier to get into that position. So if you'll take a peek here, it's subtle. The differences are subtle, but they're there. So this is a Kyle Schmidt on a just normal toe side wake jump. And the first thing I want to point out is just how high the nose of the board is and how deep in the wake the tail is. He's able to do that because of what he does with his upper body. So you absolutely, as you mentioned in your question when you submitted this, you do need to lean back with your upper body. But when you lean back with your upper body, you're really leaning kind of over the tail a bit, and your shoulders should stay back just slightly, and you want to keep your hips forward. So if we go back to yours, you'll notice your chest is further forward. You're not leaning against the rope too much, and then your hips have kind of gone behind you. And then again, I can see both boots here, and then the nose of your board is kind of low. So what this means is that the angle of your board, if I can't see a lot of bottom graphic of the board here as your nose rises through the wake, that means that you're not leaning back enough and that your edge is not deep enough into the wake. So you won't get nearly as much pop as Kyle is here, where he's really loaded up over the tail and really leaning tall in a tall position, leaning back against the rope. And what this does for Kyle is you'll see that his back leg becomes straight, and all the joints in his body are in somewhat of an alignment, so that when the wake pushes against your board, you don't buckle anywhere. Kyle is able to resist all of the push that the wake is giving him, much like a trampoline. Like when you bounce on a trampoline, and if you're to take a picture at the very bottom of the bounce, basically where the mat is say he's on a trampoline right now, and my cursor here is the level of the mat. The mat would dip here a bit, and at the very bottom of that dip, if you were to take a picture of anyone jumping on a trampoline, if they were to get a lot of pop, a lot of height on the trampoline, at the bottom of that dip where the mat is dipped the most, their body would be fully locked out and as tall as possible. Sometimes when I'm coaching, I like to ask people how tall they are, and then tell them to be that height. So if they say I'm 6 feet tall, I would say, okay, well, when you hit the wake, you need to be 6 feet tall. I don't want to see any I don't want you to be 5 feet tall and be crouched at all. So that extra little oomph of standing taller, just that little extra height that you can get out of that, will equate to a couple feet of height in the air. It's really significant when you start getting into this. Think about if you were to jump on the trampoline with your knees bent and your hips back. Your bounce would be half of it as intense as it should be. So hopefully that makes sense to you. So the key is to correct this is to take your hips and push them further forward, and then take your shoulders and lean them further back against the rope, and that will fix your board. So you don't really need to worry about your board. Your board is an indicator, a measuring stick of what your upper body is doing. So if you keep that in mind, you'll be able to connect with the wake really nicely, and it will send you up into the air. And you'll notice Kyle doesn't really need to move his body anymore. Once he gets in the air, everything just kind of works itself out, and he just stays still, just like you would on a trampoline bounce. So the other thing you need to do, like Kyle is doing here, that I'd like to mention, is when he lands, he's anticipating landing on edge and traveling away from the wakes. So he's landing and traveling, not landing and stopping. If you plan on landing and stopping, it's really interesting because that creeps into this part. You actually start to put the brakes on, and it looks like you are a little bit here. If you don't plan on landing with your chest over your toes, edging away from the wakes, and you just kind of want to land upright, you'll start getting your upper body and your mass will be over the heel side edge of your board, and you'll start to kind of slip out a little bit, much like you are here. See how your body is kind of tilted in the air? Your upper body is just kind of keep falling backward like this, and you're going to land and slip out on your heels, much like you are right here. Like, it's really hard to continue traveling across the wakes when your body is leaning back that far on your heels, and that's what makes for such a hard uphill landing in that position as well. So again, very common issues, not impossible to fix by any stretch of the imagination. So here's one way to do it, and I want you to watch this video. You can search it in the search bar on the site. You can search Toeside jumps, the perfect setup. Now, sorry I didn't get it muted here, but so this video, if you go through and watch it, it'll set you up with the correct edge out and then the correct edge in, so that you can get in the right body position at the wake, on your toes, to hit the wake and get the most amount of pop possible. So this is a drill I would suggest to fix your body position at the wake. So Toeside jumps, the perfect setup. I would watch this and study it and kind of get used to it. The other thing that I would suggest that you do, and you can go on our site, it's a little different now, but you can go on here and you can search specific terms. And you can also search the type of video. So down here, if you click on instructional, which is the type of video, and then you give it some keywords to search, and this one in particular is going to be Toeside pop, cleaning up Toeside pop. So I know that cleaning is a very unique word for that, so I'm going to search that, and here we go. So cleaning up Toeside pop drill. This is the second drill I would like you to work on. When you go to this drill on the site, it's very, very step by step, and this is going to get your body into the right position. Make sure that's muted for you. And it's a very weird feeling drill, but it really works. So step one is you'll be out on the outside of the wakes, edging away from the wakes on your toes, and what you're learning to do, and this is why I want you to do this, is you're going to be learning how to twist your body without leaning, and then you're going to learn how to lean without twisting, and then you're going to combine them. And so there's a lot of those things practiced independently. So you'll be out on the outside of the wakes practicing how to get your board twisted properly, because another thing you'll notice in the differences here in that body position is, if I can find that frame quickly, is your board's not very twisted. So your front foot and your back foot line up with each other really really precisely here. So the nose of your board should be pointed further across the wakes, and that front foot should be in this angle from the boat angle. Your front foot should be further in front of your back foot by a little bit more margin than you have there. So if you look at Kyle here, you'll see his back foot is here, his front foot is here, and they're further apart from each other in that view. So that means that the nose of his board is pointing further across the wakes, if that makes sense. So this drill specifically, not that one, this one, cleaning up toeside pop. This drill will help improve your ability to add some twist and some lean the way that you're looking to get some help from. So the other half of the drill is right on the face of the wake, and it's kind of a funky positioning, but again, this is over twisting, getting the nose of the board pointed across the wakes further than it should be, because on your toes it's really hard and awkward to twist, and it also trains you to keep your hips forward. So I know there's a lot of information to kind of take in, but those are the two drills that I would recommend you watching and practicing, and I think that's really going to tidy up your jumps. So cleaning up toeside pop is one drill. The other drill is toeside jumps, the perfect setup. If you practice both of these, you'll see worlds of improvement on your toeside jumps. So one thing that the perfect setup video will correct that I noticed very distinctly here is you start edging really hard, really fast, and you lean really aggressively at the wake instead of down the rope. There's only one direction you can lean when you're wakeboarding, and it's against the rope. If you start leaning further over your toes, or further this way or further this way, there's nothing really to hold you up. So most of your lean should always be against the rope. And that's why you'll notice here the nose of your board is so low. That's really important to get your upper body further back. So instead of being like this on the way in, that drill, the cleaning up toeside pop drill, is going to teach you to keep your body angled more back here on the way in, and then that toeside jumps, the perfect setup, that video is going to teach you how to hold that position properly all the way into the wakes. So the reason that's bad is because it makes you edge a little too hard, too fast, and then it kind of kills your speed because your board is just dragging really hard in the water, and then it puts you in a bad body position at the wake. So you'll notice here you just go flat. Like I almost can't see the bottom of your board anymore. And that means you stopped edging. So you were edging on the way in kind of a weak position, and then you stopped edging right here, and then pretty much just went flat with the board, which is why you didn't get much pop. You may have on purpose felt uncomfortable. Because you felt uncomfortable, you may have on purpose just absorbed that with your legs. But that happens, so not a big deal. However, this is also really amazing right here for everyone else watching. So those falls are awesome. We love having fun with those when we're watching people on the boat. So thanks for giving us some enjoyment there. So I want to talk to you about your heel side jump briefly, and then we'll break and wait until your next video upload. So the only thing here is you start edging really hard, really fast, kind of like I was talking about on your toes, and then you do flatten off, but because you are edging so aggressively and leaning so hard, even though you flatten off, you still have enough edge. You don't flatten off completely. You still have enough edge to get a decent amount of pop. It's just way more intense than it needs to be. So that's great if you're wanting to jump into the flats periodically. But I would recommend, throttling back a little bit and not going quite so intense, so that you go nice and controlled wake to wake. So you can start doing grabs. You can start doing some 180s and getting in more control. However, if you were to try to go big into the flats, this is a great way to do it. The last thing is, when you're edging through the wake, you should be straightening both of your legs right about at this point, a little bit more extension out of that back leg especially. So you want to lock that leg out when you're standing tall, otherwise you're absorbing your pop just like on a trampoline. So you notice as you're going up the wake here that your back leg is getting more and more bent. and then it's just starting to absorb it. So if you were to have locked that leg out and forced it to stay straight, you would have ended up a couple feet higher on that jump. Not that you needed to on this one. So again, scale back your edge and stand a little taller at the wake, and you'll get really high pop that's very controlled, so you can land nice and easy on the transition down here. So thanks again for uploading this video. If you have any other questions or anything, I'll be sending you an email letting you know that this has been completed. You can respond directly to me in there, or if you have another video that you'd like to upload, you can submit that video for analysis as well after you've implemented some of the things that I mentioned in this video. So thanks again, and good luck.